Tonight's presentation, although edited for YouTube, contains imagery and subject matter some may find disturbing. While our program is educational, we still feel that viewer discretion is advised.
Like that, I really hope that someone or something happens to where he has to actually face some struggles in his life where he goes, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills or eat this week. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I want for this little, because I know exactly what he would do. He'd go back to mommy. I really hope loses his Patreon. I hope he loses his monetization. And I hope people at his fucking job realize how much of an he is, because I know he's working some stupid fast food job. Mr. Boo-hoo, I don't want to fucking work.
Plagued Moth is a YouTuber who started his career on October 11th of 2020. As time went on, Moth found his niche and would gradually begin to focus on reactions and discussions of violent and gory content. Several of these videos would either get age restricted by YouTube or completely taken down. Along with this shift in focus, Moth would further monetize his reactions by offering uncensored variants directly on his Patreon. According to this post that used to be on his Discord, Moth also used to offer full mixtapes and gore clips along with the infamous 4 documentary series. The aforementioned uncensored reactions was the main issue Patreon had, and it seemed like after some communication, Moth removed the offending material and was allowed to stay on the service. While the Patreon got nuked and basically restarted, Moth would instead move the BitChute links of uncensored reactions to a room in his Discord server called, and I can't stress how silly this is enough, the super secret video room. From 2021 till about February of 2023, these videos remained in the server along with links to his removed censored videos and the infamous 4 documentary series. Even so, the uncensored reactions were a large part of why many people donated. In November of 2022, after being autoplayed into the video, One Girl 99 Stomps, I personally was horrified by the disrespectful nature of the commentary, especially considering the victim, from what I understand, is 15.
Oh, this is way higher quality too. Damn.
In the original description of this video, which is the one that I read upon seeing it, is that he was advertising selling that very video of a 15-year-old being murdered. So I paid $5, checked to see if there was any age verification, and took screenshots before reporting what I found to Patreon. Within a 3-day window of my report going through, they chose to shut down his page. In response, Moth claimed that this was an attack on his gender identity.
But I brought up the mass reporting on my content from 2 sources that I know of, and one of them is Kiwi Farms, because they don't like the fact that I'm gender fluid and they've been attacking my identity and my family ever since, trying to further dox me, harass me, get my Patreon taken down, citing, that I'm a troon, which is and of course I have retaliation from Ripper, aka Fergie, right after outing him. I got multiple reports of me offering gore on whatever, and I've already had to snub those out with YouTube and stuff too, so Patreon was just next on the list, so I just figured this could be handled easily.
I was baited into revealing who I was before I had everything together. I got a little up my own butt and got offended that he was using the LGBT as a shield for his honestly rancid behavior. Since then, Moth and his wife Andrea have been weaponizing his fanbase against me and anyone who talks about this subject at all, likely in the hopes that it will go away. As of the writing of this video, Plagued Moth has sent me a cease and desist in an attempt to get me to delete my posts about the subject so he can hide the obvious on top of deceiving his fans actively in an attempt to discredit me for revealing what his server believed to be a open secret. He even went as far as sending several emails to a convention I was guesting at to demand my removal. We're dealing with an individual who openly sells merchandise of cartel executions, then drags his kid's medical condition into the discussion the moment someone raises an ethical concern about the subject. Even if you disagree with me about whether it's ethical or not to sell reactions to other people dying, and to what extent, Patreon's terms of service strictly forbid forbids it, and Moth was made well aware of this fact in 2021. He even agrees that if something is against TOS, you should report it. Despite what Moth would have you believe, I did not use my audience to flag this guy. In spite of his tweets, multiple videos, reports, and a freaking GoFundMe, none of it was enough to get me taken off the site. In this video, we will go in depth on a lot of the evidence that I've collected, allow others who have been unfairly targeted by Moth to speak up and share their stories, as well as respond to some of these insane conspiratorial accusations he's levied against me and literally everyone that's taken my side. On top of this, in the description, we will include evidence such as a script, which will contain many of the screenshots used in this very video, as well as an export of Moth's general chat from late December to the day that he deleted everything, so that you guys can make your own judgment call of what this person's like behind closed doors. So with that out of the way, let's go over the evidence and see how bad this really gets. Since Moth repeatedly denies that he sold GORE in any capacity at all,
He said the Dropbox that I offer you all is full of GORE, and he personally bought GORE and I provided it to children. There's never been proof of this.
let's get the facts laid out and let me give you a timeline. Plagued Moth got in trouble sometime in August of 2021 because he offered uncensored versions of his reaction videos on Patreon. His page was nuked, everyone panicked, and the content was moved onto Discord. These are the GORE videos that I saw and paid for. Admittedly, from what I understand now, he stopped making new uncensored shock reaction videos for Patreon. However, even after being nuked, all Moth did was move the GORE from one site to Discord. In other words, he kept offering the same content that got him in trouble back in August of 2021. Even if he stopped making new content, it's undeniable that he kept gating the BitChute links behind a Tier 2 Patreon subscription. We know that this was locked behind a paywall because not only did I pay for the service and can personally attest to it, but here's his mods openly admitting that the content was there and specifically a one-stop shop for patrons.
If you mean super secret videos, it's not a secret. We hashtagged it in this very server. It's basically the videos that were on his old Patreon before it got yeeted, as well as the infamous 4 for like a one-stop shop to access it for patrons. He didn't agree that they violated what they said it violated, so he still offered them, just not directly through Patreon.
This is the same mod that I spoke with in an attempt to resolve my issues with Moth privately. As you can tell, the fact that I'm making this video shows that it didn't really work out in that way, but I agreed to censor his name anytime that he's brought up. In future, if you see a screenshot and that person has a purple name, it means that they are a mod. Back to the point. If Moth was not continuing to sell the content that got him nuked in 2021, then what is his mod talking about on the same day that all of this drama really started? He even says that Moth disagreed with them being in violation of TOS, so he just moved them onto Discord as a one-stop shop for patrons, just not directly through Patreon, even though you had to donate to get the role to see the videos. So what are these non-offending videos that Plagued Moth does not classify as selling GORE? An actual reaction of a rather nasty and infamous mixtape, Snuff R73 of Cold Raven, a film that I should mention features infants, the Funky Town revisit and fully uncensored cartel video that Moth sells merch of, and oh look, one girl 99 stomps just as he advertised on the YouTube video.
I mean, in short, because it is short, a 15-year-old girl gets brutally mugged by a known thief, drug addict, and mugger, who then proceeds to stomp the ever-living hell out of her head. And it is horrifying, and we're going to analyze that today and figure out, well, why this happened. And I'll be honest, it's kind of anticlimactic. The video itself, though, I've seen it in 2 whole pixels, but it will be uncensored on Patreon as well, and we'll analyze it there together. Again, uncensored, as well as my infamous 4 docuseries and things like that, and other uncut content. You can check out the links in the pin down in the description.
The reason why 99 Stomps is an important video to understanding all of this is because this is the video that got autoplayed at me. Since Moth did not think age restricting a video that contains footage of a 15-year-old being murdered was a good idea, especially considering the commentary. This video was put into YouTube's autoplay system, and as a result, when I was half asleep watching through Nick Spears' video on Plagued Moth's Iceberg, I was pushed into this. I won't lie, I think this is an extremely disrespectful video, and if a video of me being stomped to death reached my mom and some dude started counting the stomps out of curiosity and for fun and profit, it would destroy her. This video is doubly bad because before Moth changed the description, this is how it read.
This video is uncensored on my Patreon. Spoiler, it wasn't really 99.
While I'm too late to show you a full page screenshot, there are plenty of people who have seen the super secret video room and make reference to it in the server. It had 3 sections: censored videos, uncensored, which is what I showed you and I screenshotted myself, and another section which had the infamous 4 documentary series. After I let my subscription lapse, I lost access to this room, which signaled to me that not only did he not photo ID me at any point, or did I talk to a mod just to prove that I was anything, this was in fact a reward incentive for donating money. I can't stress this enough. No matter how old these videos were, up until about March 1st, around 6 p.m., he was offering these uncensored videos as a Patreon reward incentive. Snuff R73 features a really gruesome segment involving Moth and Cold Raven reacting to a baby in a state of agony. And Funky Town contains some of the most disrespectful commentary I've ever seen. I can't play it for obvious reasons, but Moth straight up says that he thinks it's funny the way the vocal cords makes the guy go high-pitched as they cut through it. I'd play you the audio, but unfortunately there's a screaming guy being murdered in the background, and I feel like that would be irresponsible. However, if I need to prove this claim further, we can talk about having like a censored form of the video posted somewhere. Moth is well aware of how disrespectful he can be, and he even makes comments about it and often jokes about it on Twitter and other places. So he should be aware that people might have an issue with the fact that he's being really insensitive around the tragic deaths and murders of children. I've been on YouTube long enough to remember Logan Paul pog-facing at a dead guy, causing all of the sponsors to drop out and making my income reduced by over 90%. This is the kind of stuff that would get PayPal to drop Patreon in a heartbeat, and it's why these videos were nuked in the first place. This is a far cry from never selling gore or being disrespectful with this premium content. What adds insult to injury is the fact that Patreon warned him once that this was not okay, but he kept trying to sell it anyway, and on top of that didn't bother to do photo IDs, even though he did photo IDs for the NSFW room, just not the gore, because I guess, you know, don't ask, don't tell. I only learned about that fact after everything was taken down. But as you can tell, the room was not hard to find, and I'm pretty sure the reason why Patreon responded so quickly is because it would have taken less than 5 seconds, as the room was one of the top rooms you'll see. I can only imagine the Patreon employees' eyes immediately being greeted with a room titled Super Secret Video Room, with another video titled ISIS Human Slaughterhouse being front and center. According to Patreon, they conducted their own investigation and reacted accordingly.
He randomly tagged me in my video today because he's the one who got my Patreon deleted for false reasons, which I'm actually talking to supervisors over at Patreon about what legal action to take next between them and him for fraudulently reporting my account.
If Moth really had a contact that he was communicating with to get me in some sort of trouble and get his channel reinstated, why is my Patreon still up? They have done nothing against my false flag. Maybe it's because my flag was not false, and for some reason, Moth's definition of gore does not include videos that were made literally 2 years ago being sold in 2023. Again, according to Moth, he never sold this, and this all stopped in 2021, which means one of two things. Either Moth's mods are repeatedly lying for no reason, or Moth is trying to cover something up to make it look like I had less of a reason to actually report this. The fact is, Moth was distributing gore, and while I may not have had the facts straight at the time, it makes the content no less gruesome and embarrassing than it was years ago. And it's not like people stopped coming for it. Plenty of people in his Patreon and Discord server were looking for this and paid to have access to it, including a few people who claim to be minors. While Moth is not responsible if someone's lying about their age, he should probably at the very least ask. I mean, if my movie theater will ID me, a 25-year-old man trying to watch the film Black Phone, a film about actors pretending to abuse children, why was I able to pay $5 with zero verification to see actual children die? I just think it's irresponsible, as well admitting to watching a bit of the most horrific CP film ever made, Daisy's Destruction. I want to state this up front so no one can get confused anymore, because Moth has been intentionally confusing people about what I actually said, but no, I don't think Moth is a child predator, and that was never my claim. Based on this message from his Discord and the fact that he had footage mixed in with the film itself, and considering on his YouTube channel how he's reacted to kids dying and was even selling a video, Snuff R73, that contained footage of a horribly maimed baby, I didn't really think that it was out of the question that he may have had access to it, or that maybe it was one of these films that he was offering completely uncensored. I now understand that it's entirely possible that he obtained this footage legally through the 60 Minutes interview, just like Scare Theater. However, this also comes into question when you consider the fact that Moth doesn't really make it easy to believe him. He constantly contradicts himself. Just take a look at this Twitter clip from Slimebeast.
Who said anything about using footage from anything or a news report? And then Plagued Moth links a DuckDuckGo link searching for images. Here is where I pulled all footage from, and then Plagued Moth links a news report.
1 second he says DuckDuckGo, meaning that he searched for it, and another says that he got it from an interview. Or maybe we could go back to what he said in 2021 and look at maybe it's 4chan. It's never consistent. My issue with this is that I had seen a video about this by Scare Theater that was posted in 2017, which kind of lines up with Moth's time frame here.
Until recently, everything seemed all good. Peter Scully's locked up, and as far as a lot of people were concerned, the video was gone. That is, until someone made a post on 4chan saying they accidentally found Daisy's Destruction. According to them, they found a video on YouTube where someone put a download link to the video in the description, and that's how they found it. Of course, at first, a lot of people thought he was lying, but as the thread went on, people realized he was telling the truth. Someone did post a link to the video where the download link was posted, but luckily, the video was removed. I tried to paste the link to the video in the Wayback Machine to see if I could confirm this video was actually about Daisy's Destruction, but I couldn't find any archives of the page. Looking through all the posts on the 4chan thread, it becomes apparent that everyone who saw this video is describing the same horrific thing. I even received an email from someone who claimed to have watched the video that described the same thing. Apparently, the clips that people were watching in the file they downloaded were just ads that contained about 6 minutes worth of the real Daisy's Destruction footage. In the RAR file, there was another larger file that had been encrypted. As far as I know, no one was able to get into that file, but I can only imagine what it contained. The download link to the Daisy's Destruction video had over 1,800 downloads. A lot of the people on 4chan rushed to report the video with the link in order to get it removed, and luckily it was removed. I only found out about this after it happened, so I never actually watched the video, and from what people are describing about the video, I'm glad that I didn't.
According to Scare Theater, this was nearly impossible to find except through a 4chan post which apparently had a download link to it. Is it possible that Daisy's is accessible on the surface web? Sure, but I sure as hell never had to deal with jump scares like that. No one but Moth seems to really say anything about this, and according to Moth, he both saw this on accident on 4chan, but also never seen it ever at any point, so I don't know. Because I believe Moth's words at face value, I assumed that this was the method he obtained the footage. I now know that Moth is an unreliable narrator at best and a malicious liar at worst. Even if the footage was obtained legally through the 60 Minutes interview, just like Scare Theaters, his use of the footage in the trailer for the infamous 4 is nothing but disrespectful, even if it's cropped and censored. The fact that Plagued Moth put a stock scream sound effect over censored CP should tell you guys what this is, what it really is, what it's always been: exploitation. Trying to make something that was already kind of a bad situation even worse for fun and profit. I really hope the victim never sees this video or goes on Moth's channel, because I know how I would react if I saw myself or one of my loved ones getting exploited like this, and I know how my mom would too. I've said all that I want to say about GORE and why I reported his Patreon. As you can see, it has nothing to do with his kids, his wife, or his identity. It's also real messed up that he would openly lie about something that egregious just so he can try to win an online argument. So for now, I want to let other people who were affected by Moth to speak up for themselves. The first will be Lazy Bedhead, a smaller YouTuber, and the other will be a written statement from Ringo, a 17-year-old who's had similar issues to Moth as I, and then finally we'll be letting Slimebeasts, someone who's recently been getting targeted by Moth, share his story. So without wasting any more time, here's Lazy.
Plagued Moth sucks. There, I said it, and I'm gonna be mean about it, so suck my dick. I think my biggest issue when I approach these types of situations is that I'm too nice to people that don't deserve it, frankly. I try my hardest to be open-minded because I am discussing someone online that I've never actually met in real life. I'm judging their lives only through what they choose to share publicly, and that can be a very vulnerable thing to do. So, because I was only getting certain parts of the story, I wanted to tread carefully. I wanted to try my best to be a storyteller for both sides, criticizing each side for their faults, and then have that be that. I'd have no idea that this approach would be one that would drag my name through the mud. I suppose I should have expected it regardless, but I didn't think I did too terribly of a job. I even reached out to both content creators to get the full story, but it wasn't enough of a preventive to stop the oncoming shitstorm that was coming my way just for saying anything at all. So if you want a long version of events, you can go watch my 2 videos about all of this, but to keep that long story short, I made my video covering the Plagued Moth and That Creepy Reading Twitter drama. I got in contact with both content creators for comment. Creepy worked with me and gave me his side of the story, while Moth did not, which is totally in his right to do to deny comment. After my video came out, both Moth and Andrea blocked me on Twitter and started saying some really rude things about me behind said blocked accounts.
I find solace in looking in the mirror and knowing I don't look like a fucking toe.
So not only could I not respond to anything, but I also couldn't even see all of this shit that they were saying about me. They could have easily said all of this stuff to my face in DMs where they had the chance to speak to me. Moth started talking shit about me in the Hivemind Discord server. He called me a crackhead and the C word, which I'm not gonna say because I'm sure Creepy wants to stay monetized, and saying that I was friends with and defending pedophiles. Now, I get why he and his fan base are angry at me and attacking my character, and attacking my character isn't necessarily something I have an issue with because he's just throwing anything at the wall and hoping that it sticks. You see, this isn't the first time that Moth has been exposed for his behavior in the past. People like Jimmy J and Soldier Sam, and even his previous moderator Fergie, would come out against Moth, accusing him of things that are either open secrets already or surface level accusations at best. But the thing is, most of Moth's detractors in the past have ended up being predatory in their own right. That's why coming out against Moth is so hard, because every person before him was just as unsavory, and most of their accusations about Moth were just projection, as it seems to be being on the outside looking in, of course. So him trying to pin me with similar accusations of being predatory or protecting pedophiles is just him trying to group me in with Jimmy J and Fergie. The issue is, though, Moth doesn't have anything on me. My video was to put out a set of my own allegations based on the evidence that I have provided. That, by the way, was way more screenshots provided than Moth and Andrea have shown combined. So Moth is trying to do whatever he can to make me look like the next Jimmy J, and it's not really working. And I'm not saying anything really derogatory or offensive at this point. I'm correcting his misinformation in the most polite way I could, given the circumstances of everything. But things started to really get under my skin when he attacked my boyfriend. Now, Moth has been pretty vocal about the disdain that he has for people messing with his family. The continued accusation he has made against myself and Creepy was that we were bringing his kids into this to get harassed by a bunch of people online that don't like Moth. Despite me saying in my video to leave his family alone, and even though Moth constantly brings up his family anytime he needs sympathy from his community, I can still understand keeping his family out of this in general because his family members and his kids have nothing to do with Plagued Moth's online activity. I still 100% respect the idea of keeping family out of it. But here's the thing about Plagued Moth that I don't know if you caught on to just yet. It's been pretty blatantly obvious, but I can spell it out for you. He's a walking definition of rules for thee, but not for me. Moth doesn't like it when you bring up his family, but he has no issue using his family for sympathy. Moth doesn't like it when you insult their partner, but has no issue attacking my loved one and calling my boyfriend a pet that gets me ice cream and pop. Moth is a very progressive, liberal person that doesn't condone homophobia, transphobia, sexism, nor fatphobia. But he has no issue calling me the worst thing you can say to a female-presenting person, also implying that I'm fat, and dead-naming a 17-year-old transgender person. Moth has no problem abandoning all of his progressive principles to spite someone else. I have no issue with Moth attacking me because I'm a public figure, and it would be foolish to try to stop every single person from saying negative shit about me online. Like, I already put myself out there publicly as is, and I don't hide behind an avatar or anything, so people should be allowed to make their judgments. But my boyfriend doesn't have the same public platforms like I do. He's not really a public figure like me, so attacking the person I love is pretty low, even for Plagued Moth, and the fucker has already set the bar at the center of the earth. I've already proven that you're willing to lie about Daisy's destruction on my channel. I've already proven that you're willing to lie about everything that has anything to do with me whatsoever, so why should anyone then trust you when you're trying to make a judgment of anyone else? I'm very open about who I am. The question is, will you? Of course, I have my doubts based on how you've treated me and Creepy. I think that you'll lie and use your audience as a weapon against smaller content creators like myself. You have a massive platform and you use that to lie and smear everyone's name through the mud. All because you yourself broke TOS is nothing but you deflecting and trying to pin the blame on everyone else but yourself. My only regret is not having my script proofread and not re-recording certain sections in my video, because unfortunately I do misword myself a few times. And if I am going to approach situations like this in the future, I have to say it in a way that is precise, easy to understand, well organized, and can't be used against me because I said one thing when I actually meant to say another thing. Other than that and some editing issues with sound, I still edit on an iPhone, okay? Leave me alone. I don't regret a damn thing, and I stand by everything that I've said. Plagued Moth doesn't stand for anything. He's a lying, manipulative, greedy, self-centered coward who will so easily sell you GORE as he would drag your name in front of 400,000 people. I think, morally speaking, this man has no morals left. He was willing to throw all of that away to try to make me look bad. A much smaller content creator at that. Because it's so easy to pick on the little guy. But it backfired on him so badly, my audience, my small minuscule audience, mollywopped the shit out of him. I regret absolutely nothing, and Plagued Moth can suck on my non-existent crack pipe. Fuck you. That was a bit mean at the end. That was a bit aggressive. Sorry. No, not sorry. Fuck you.
The following testimonial has been edited for clarity and brevity.
My experience with Plagued Moth started when I discovered his NSFL iceberg and enjoyed it. I ended up joining his Discord, which at the time was open to everyone. I slowly began to dislike Moth's content, however, as I noticed Moth had a very disrespectful way of covering these tragedies and events. The final straw for me was learning that he had taken a 4chan troll post seriously and pretended to see its contents. Moth had claimed to see a child snuff film called Dig Your Roots, or After School Special, which he described seeing in visceral detail despite this fictional snuff film never actually existing. I ended up speaking out about the sour taste in my mouth that his content left me with. I learned that someone by the name of Jimmy J was planning to make a video about Moth, so I emailed him to reach out with some screenshots that I had, and we corresponded back and forth. Eventually, someone on Reddit by the name of Sam reached out to me after we exchanged a few comments in a Reddit thread. Sam also had a similar dislike of Plagued Moth, however, he had ulterior motives in befriending me. When discussing my distaste towards Moth, I had made it clear that I was a victim of a certain subsection of content that Plagued Moth covered, and how his coverage was disrespectful. Sam wanted to know the details of these events, and often pushed me to tell him the details even though I refused. Eventually, someone reached out to me on Twitter claiming to be a member of Kiwi Farms. This person stated that Sam was actually just Jimmy J, a man in his 40s under an alternate account. Jimmy, as confirmed by the farms, was into the disturbing abuse that I had faced, and was trying to groom me. After this, I cut all contact with Jimmy, or Sam, and attempted to have a civil discussion with Moth. We spoke over Discord private messages, and I explained how, as a victim of certain subjects he had covered, I found his coverage of those subjects to be disturbing and disrespectful. That's when Plagued Moth made a promise to a 16-year-old me that he would change his content in regards to those subjects. And unfortunately, I believed him, also fearful of what he would do if I continued to speak out against him. This brings us to 2023, when I had noticed a tweet from TCR about Plagued Moth. Realizing that Moth had lied to me completely, I shared my experience with Moth as well as my disgust towards the fact that his content remained the exact same, and stayed disrespectful to victims. TCR quote retweeted me in agreement with my statement. However, on a stream that Moth was doing, Moth lied and claimed that TCR was harassing me, stating my name, my attempted groomer's name, and revealing that I was a victim while misgendering me. What's strange to me is that I had Plagued Moth blocked at this point, and I have no idea how he would have seen my tweet without seeing my Twitter display name, which contains my preferred pronouns. I mentioned how I had no problem with TCR and shared that I was upset that Moth had misgendered me. At some point, Moth quote retweeted me and then blocked me. Moth had linked a video on my attempted groomer, saying that it disproved that I had an issue with his content. Honestly, I'm not sure what he keeps saying the video on my attempted groomer disproves, as it doesn't disprove anything other than me stating that me and Moth had a civilized talk about the matter. However, it was Moth's lack of action that caused me to no longer believe his word, which is entirely his fault, not mine. Underneath this tweet, he posted a screenshot of Reddit posts made by my attempted groomer, including one of me saying that Moth and I had talked things out. The username in this screenshot contained my dead name, which is a shortened version of my Hebrew name. Many people asked Moth to censor this dead name, which he outright refused, and started a rumor that I was claiming my dead name was Microsoft. Even after my friend posted a censored version of the screenshots, sharing that if he simply deleted it and used their version instead, censoring out my actual dead name, there would be no problem, Moth instead continued to say that my username was not a dead name. Personally, I believe this was, alongside the obvious transphobia, an anti-Semitic slight, or microaggression, as another friend had mentioned that it was a Hebrew name, and he refused to accept that. Moth seems to, as according to Discord screenshots later leaked, not acknowledge a shortened version of a Hebrew name as an actual name because it's not American enough. Personally, I'm unsure of why he refuses to accept my dead name is my dead name. What makes this worse is the fact that Andrea Dawn, Plagued Moth's wife, stated that my dead name would not be uncensored unless I apologized and got everyone, including people I don't even know who were kindly asking for my dead name to be censored, to apologize to Moth and her for some reason. Andrea Dawn and Plagued Moth decided that the best way to go about this was blackmail, despite the fact that I had already deleted all my tweets on the situation in fear as my personal and sensitive information were being spread. To this day, Moth and Andrea are still lying about my dead name, actively stating it in his Discord and inciting his fanbase of presumably grown adults to attack me, a 17-year-old. As of now, Moth is still lying about me and asking for my harassment behind closed doors. I'm sick of being silenced, and now I'm speaking out with no regrets. Thank you to TCR for allowing me to share my experiences and story regarding Plagued Moth.
I first became aware of Plagued Moth's existence when he name-dropped me, along with made-up allegations of transphobia. Essentially, since one of the many horror creators that I've butted heads with happened to be trans, that one interaction alone made me transphobic, regardless of what the actual disagreement was about. I now believe that Plagued Moth was mentioning me and making accusations of transphobia because he was trying to get ahead of the fact that I might start talking about him, because he knew I had past associations with that creepy reading, and he was trying to ruin my reputation just in case I stepped in and started joining the discussion. After looking into who Plagued Moth was, I questioned why he cropped out the illegal imagery from a CP video in one of his trailers. If he was working with censored footage, it would already be blurred out, and he wouldn't need to crop out the pornographic content. This made me wonder if he was working with the original uncensored video, and I posted this concern online. Plagued Moth immediately went insane, telling me to kill myself and posting a litany of false allegations, all of which were easily and completely disproven in a video I made immediately after he posted his. I've come to see Plagued Moth as the biggest hypocrite on the website. He complains about false DMCAs, yet he files false DMCAs all the time. He filed one against me because of an 11-second clip. The clip that he DMCA'd was of him and me talking on a live stream, in which he said that he watched CP.
Have you ever seen Daisy's Destruction?
No, I have not, thank God.
Do you know what it is?
No, you have.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, you have seen it.
No. Do you know what it is?
You have seen it, by the way.
Okay, sure.
He filed a copyright strike for no other reason than to hide that evidence. Plagued Moth and his fans will say, oh, he was being sarcastic in that clip, but it's so easy to say that you don't watch child. It makes you wonder why he would ever sarcastically say that he does. He's also reported my videos for things like child safety and doxing, despite neither being true. Again, all while he whines about people false striking him. As mentioned, he likes to complain about doxing and the safety of his family, even though he himself will willingly post his own name online in association with his content. It's obviously not a secret. Moth will use someone else's face, their real name, and details about them in videos publicly posted to his channel, alongside false allegations of pedophilia. But if you so much as mention his name, he tries to use it as a tool to silence you through false doxing claims. If there's one thing that's completely clear at this point, it's that he is provably guilty of most, if not all, of what he accuses others of doing. In his desperate attempt to paint anyone who questions him as a child predator, this guy even went through my 500 plus DeviantArt likes in order to find 2 images he decided were illegal. One was a self-portrait of a 20-year-old artist whose real-life tomboy physique wasn't mature enough for Moth. And the other was a photograph of an adult woman that, because it was taken at a downward angle, tricked Moth into deciding she was tiny. Then again, I guess Plagued Moth has never really been good with perspective. Even though these were 2 adult women, and these were 2 images out of 500, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with clicking like on a photograph of any fully dressed person just standing there normally, Moth still rolled with the claims of pedophilia. And, just to cap it off, since I liked the photo in 2005, he lied and said that that single image click counted as stalking her for the following 18 years since I clicked it. He knew that this wasn't true at the time. Still, he uses his platform to incite hatred and threats against others. And for what? For simply asking where he got footage. This is worth getting on the record. Plagued Moth is a very obvious danger to others.
I want to take some time to document my shortcomings when dealing with this drama. I've made some genuine mistakes that I'm embarrassed about, and I feel it's important to address these things so that hopefully you guys can learn. It's not like there's a book written on this. To start, I openly took credit for taking this guy's income away. I don't regret sending my one report, but I do regret in the way in which I came forward. Moth blatantly and knowingly lied about what happened, and yeah, it got me fucking mad. I took the bait, and I fully admitted that it was me who did it. I did not have all the facts straight at the time of presenting my evidence, and furthermore, by taking credit in the way in which that I did, made it look like that I enjoyed taking this dude's money away, and that's not all the case. I didn't even expect Patreon to take away his income. Just give him a warning or something. I had no idea that he already had gotten one. It's a mistake made on my end, and it's one that was made out of nothing but pure emotion and spite. When it comes to those facts not being entirely straight, I would like to address the elephant in the room. When I made my one admittedly low-view tweet about Moth having access to daisies, it was based on this post made by Moth and my genuine first reactions to seeing his daisies videos. I believe that it was irresponsible of me to throw out this claim without more checks and balances due to how damaging it can be. I do not believe Moth viewed Daisy's destruction as of this point, at least intentionally. I believe that he's a liar who wanted to seem really cool and edgy by lying about being exposed to some of the worst that humanity has to offer. It kinda makes sense since he's in the GORE community. Even if Moth is a liar though, he's not a pedophile, and I've been stating that literally for 2 months now. My only advice to Moth is that he should really not admit to watching CP. He honestly could have said that this was years ago and that he was lying, which is why he deleted this response in the first place, or something like that, instead of constantly contradicting himself, making people wonder what the hell's going on here. Finally, I want to get to the thing that I personally regret the most. It has come to my attention that I've made a huge mistake with my open book policy. One of Moth's fans was wanting to sort things out and asked for my side of the story. I gave it, and then it turned out that they were 13 years old. Had I have known, I would not have told them, and I would have told them not to have get involved. Honestly, children should not be involved with this, and I'm deeply embarrassed that I even talked to a kid about this subject. Even if I did not know this kid's age, they are actively getting involved with something as gross as NSFL. And even though they may have been a Moth fan and had been already consuming his content, that doesn't change the fact that I need to do and be better. In future, I'm just going to talk to people that are close to the situation, as I should have done in the first place, instead of openly answering anyone's questions as they asked. I deeply regret doing this, and I hope that by explaining what I did wrong here, we can take this as a learning experience and move forward. With that done, let's take a look at the last clips of the day and do the final segment here. Finally, I want to take a moment and say I'm sorry for taking so long to respond, and if I had responded faster, I could have handled this in a way that would have left so many people less confused. I'll be honest, my mental health was not doing great at the time, and this is very evident if you look at that embarrassing live stream. Between the pressure from Moth's fan base, my own drama going on at the time, and my own emotional instability, I decided to get a regular job and be dependent on something that wasn't YouTube so that I could collect myself and come back better. I acknowledge that a lot of my online woes could have been fixed if I was better, but at the time I was not, so I took my time in coming back. With that done, let's go over the last clips and round off this video because it's, I just want to get back to normal content, dude. I'm not going to be addressing everything here. Simply put, Moth puts out a lot without any screenshots or real evidence, and a lot of those I can only respond with, nope, I didn't do that, and you don't show proof, and I could show you a screenshot of a blank screen to show you all the nothing I did, but, how are you even supposed to respond to something like this?
That isn't what he said to the local police department. In fact, my cousin told me that I need to be investigated immediately. I'm loading guns. I have been caught by my family, and there's many lives in danger. So I had to talk to the police about that. My cousin did as well. And here's the thing, my docs has been very public for almost 2 years now. If all these claims were had any kind of validation, why have you not contacted law enforcement? Why has my house not been searched or anything? Oh, that's right, because the only time I actually talk to law enforcement is when they're following up with me on something that I've reported.
Throughout this video that he made that's over 40 minutes, Moth will repeatedly use the word allege over information that he knows to be true. For example, he asserts that I allegedly got into a server, but then goes on to claim that actually I got all of my screens from Kiwi Farms.
So here's the problem. How would you get into the server that was invite only via Patreon, or I would have to invite you, when I never heard of you? But then you donate $5 allegedly and get access to this grotesque theater of gore. Now, why would you donate in the first place? That's a good question, but the story falls through right there. That's a lie. Again, that's why he has no credible screenshots. That's why everything's from 2021 and from Kiwi Farms.
This is in spite of the fact that I literally paid for his Patreon using my main account, and he's literally seen these receipts and was the person who banned me from his server, so I don't know why he's saying that I was never there, unless it was to double down on the idea that I just lazily took info from the farms. I think it's important to note that Moth could have disproven all of my claims and literally proved me dead wrong, hand in the cookie jar, if he provided the audit log from his Discord server. This would prove me beyond a reasonable doubt as wrong, because my claim was that he deleted the room right before he did this first live stream on me. If the room was deleted in 2021, there would be no record of his existence because the audit logs don't go back that far. However, Moth didn't think it was important to screenshot this. Both me and Lazy asked for Moth's audit logs, and he was made well aware of how much of a smoking gun it would have been. However, he seemed to take the position that he doesn't need to defend himself if the claims are, in his opinion, inherently wrong. Which makes no sense. He could have just proven me. And I mean, while I did call my local PD after this guy trolled me with my city info to inform them of the possibility of swatting, I don't know how I could be too cowardly to call the police, but also be the reason why he's being investigated by the police. That said, if that wasn't silly enough, I feel like the Fergie situation shows how ridiculous this guy can get. Plagued Moth's evidence that I was manipulated by Fergie, an individual that was Moth's former mod and someone he believes to be a mixtape CP distributor, is that he was in my server, my public one specifically, 2 or 3 years ago, shortly before deleting his account to cover his tracks. He also claimed that this person is my sock, which again, zero proof, and I think that it's very telling that this guy thinks that I have no fans, so that anyone that defends me is just a sock puppet. By that same logic, I could accuse him of impersonating Slimebeasts, but that would be stupid because I don't have his IP address or the IP addresses of the accounts that posted. Kind of like how he does not have my IP address and has shown zero way of verifying that I was sock puppeting in any way. Obviously, I refute all of this. If I were manipulated by Fergie years ago, why did I not put Moth on any of my lists I've made about the worst YouTubers, especially when he was in a position where he was making objectively worse content that he does now? He's certainly worse than some of the people I covered. Why would I go out of my way to wait years and years before making any moves? And why does Moth have zero proof that I did anything? This is ignoring the fact that I have literal receipts for the day I joined a server and started investigating. Moth wants you to believe that I, Lazy, Ringo, and everyone else are in league with this online predator, so he can just dismiss me and my arguments without actually addressing any of my arguments or evidence. It's funny too, because he tries the same tactic but way worse with Turkey Tom, taking screenshots of things that he said as a teenager to imply that as a 22-year-old adult, he still stands by that.
Oh, he's deeply connected on YouTube, meaning he, like, orbits Turkey Tom as if that fucking matters. I don't really care, but, well.
In relation to kiwi farms, I know of it, and I have been on that website before. Not only have they talked about me and my friends, because spoiler alert, I'm also a large content creator, but I also had to go there for the Creepshow art segment in one of my worst YouTuber videos. It's just baffling that this dude thinks that me knowing the abbreviated term for kiwi farms is proof that I actively used a website and used it as my only source of evidence.
You like that terminology? I like how he endearingly always refers to kiwi farms as the farms or farms. It's because he's very active, and yes, that is something that should be alarming if you're not aware of what kiwi farms is and what they're used for. Now, they have been used to dox and harass zoo sadists, which can be viewed as a positive, but primarily their purpose is to harass neurodivergent, trans, and LGBT individuals, and 2 people, I believe, have actually committed. The site is full of racism, anti-Semitism, and much worse, and he quite frequently uses the website and admits this, and I feel that that should be addressed and looked at because it's very concerning.
If any of you brave souls want to double check me on this and go on kiwi farms yourself, my original tweet is still up, and you can check any of the screens that I've used and see if they were posted on that site before it was posted on Twitter. I can state that with confidence because I had never shared these screens with anyone but Patreon before making that Twitter post. So if I was never in the server and all of my screens come from the farms, that is something that Moth could prove very easily. But of course, just like with every other instance, when he says this, no screenshots are used or any form of evidence. He just kind of says it. Meanwhile, I have literal receipts of me paying for his Patreon for 2 straight months. Moth has seen my screenshots of me paying for his Patreon. Moth knows what he's saying here is an outright lie just on the basis of me never being in a server, yet he runs with it because, let me tell you, it's a lot easier to dismiss screenshots from kiwi farms than it is to disprove me, who showed up in late 2022, still somehow getting access to content that he promised to have deleted and stopped distributing back in 2021.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up. Imagine a world, Raiden, free of cancel culture, where no one can call me out for my outlandish claims.
So Moth tried to assert that I hang out with racists and predators based on what? Some guy being in my public server 2 or 3 years ago? Not even my private Patreon server, my public server, the one that anyone can join. Some tweet Savox made that I had no idea about, and out of context Discord posts by Turkey Tom, someone who I've literally only talked to twice. How could this possibly get more outlandish?
This behavior has apparently followed him through high school, especially with his ex-girlfriends and stuff like that. He's a very manipulative individual. He's very into gaslighting and abusing others and exploiting them for his own personal gain, and then falling back and saying that, well, he's autistic, he's being attacked.
I can tell you, based on the fact that he said girlfriends, that this dude has no idea what he's talking about. Like, I have not dated women, and I have not dated anyone since I was 13. I am also ace, and when I was dating, it was kind of a part of that self-discovery process. I don't know where this come from, and it's on the same level as like Sunny V2 saying, well, I did not say this, but people are saying, which as we know is an attempt to further paint me as a manipulator with, again, 0 screenshots, 0 testimonials. Just trust his word, bro. And according to Moth's word, I was harassing and blackmailing his friend IRL. And while I can't dump our chat logs because of some verbal agreements I made with him while trying to fix this behind the scenes, I will go over some of our correspondences that will prove that I wasn't threatening this guy and that it was a very cordial conversation. I naturally didn't record our voice calls, but we do have an extensive DM history. But yeah, since Moth doesn't really share a lot of screenshots, here are mine. Do these look like the words of someone who's actively being intimidated? He has admitted to the secret server room existing before ever talking to me, as seen in the Proof of Gore segment. The only reason why I reached out to Moth's friend was because someone sent me a screen cap saying Lazy never reached out and that he was mad that no one was willing to talk to the mods. So I reached out myself and tried to get my issues resolved privately, since that's what a lot of people on Twitter wanted me to do. In that time, Moth removed all the minors from his server, age restricted the Amber Alert video, which contained audio of a baby being beaten to death, and genuinely seemed to be getting better, which is why I held off from responding for so long. It honestly seemed like he was trying to help his friend by trying to resolve their issues with me. This also led to the most improvement until the second video. As for the manipulating his wife / doxing claim that Moth lays out against me, that can't be further from the truth. All I did was let his IRL buddy know that someone leaked his parents' address to me. 2 months later, it turns out that Moth didn't tell Andrea, and she demanded that I explain myself. So in DMs, I gave her the same shit I gave to the mod, at which point she starts accusing me of killing her kids, so I responded like this, out of pure spite. I'm just gonna speak from the heart here because I had a bunch of stuff written and it was about ready to be plopped in that timeline, already edited, but unfortunately a bunch of stuff happened that kind of invalidated a lot of what I had to say. So to start, Plagued Moth had his YouTube channel terminated. I believe that this was done under false pretenses based on the fact that none of the writers who wrote the stories that were claimed came forward and took ownership for the DMCA. And the fact is that I believe I've seen a post from someone from Kiwi Farms taking credit for that thing. What is important for this story is that Moth has been telling people that it was me and putting some sort of conspiracy theory together that I worked with a cabal of predators to shut down all of his social media. And speaking of his social media, Plagued Moth also got his 20,000 follower plus Twitter suspended because he wanted to say this. I don't understand why this guy needs to bring up someone else's presumably dead mother in order to protect his family and children. I don't understand why he cannot fight someone on the merits of their argument and needs to bring up their identity, their family, and everyone else involved. What he did to Slimebeasts here, way too far. Way too far. Way too disrespectful, and not something that our community needs. Right now, Plagued Moth is ban evading on a second channel just so he can continue this crusade against me, Slimebeast, Ringo, and Lazy, everyone else involved, and quite frankly, it's pathetic. He's playing with fire. Remember Low Tier God? Low Tier God was literally removed from this platform, from this service, because he tried to ban evade, and he got caught, and then lost all of his channels, was unable to get it back, and then kept getting basically removed. Moth is playing with fire, and the only people that are going to get burned are the people that are around him. And instead of taking any responsibility, instead of just being honest with anyone, all he does is lie to make it seem like none of it's his fault, he had no idea, and it's just the cabal of predators and cartel members that want to come after his family. And that can't be further from the truth. Plagued Moth's a liar. I'm not addressing him anymore. I can't handle being exposed to gore on a daily basis, just trying to respond to this. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing, and I think this has gone on long enough. If you made it this far into my video, I would like to thank you for supporting me and for even taking the time to hear me out. And I would like to thank all the people that have helped me in the background. First off, I would like to thank all those people that helped me with the GoFundMe to make it so that I could make my rent on time. Then I want to thank all the Patreon people that I've been hanging out with, getting my head straight, touching grass, and for being respectful towards this whole Moth situation, because I can guarantee you that no one from that Patreon group was out here harassing Moth. And finally, there was a group of people behind the scenes that I'm not going to expose who they are, but they know who they are, And those people have kept me sane. They helped me make this video as cohesive and as understandable as possible. And they have gone above and beyond keeping me mentally sane. And I feel like that those people deserve some sort of credit for having such a profound impact on my life. The next video is going to be a real video talking about cartoons and fun stuff like that, and we're going to talk about horror in the more fictional sense, because this has been too much. I've been your host, That Creepy Reading, and tonight, I'm signing off.